What happens to clothes after being dropped off at the dry cleaners is a mystery to most. We know that our clothes come back a whole lot cleaner than when we dropped them off, but the big question is how? And in addition to that, who came up with the bright idea of cleaning clothes without water? Now, the earliest records of professional dry cleaning go all the way back to the ancient Romans. For instance, dry cleaning shops were discovered in the ruins of Pompeii, a Roman city buried by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. Those cleaners, known as fullers, used a type of clay known as fuller's earth, along with lye and ammonia, derived from urine, in order to remove stains such as dirt and sweat from clothing. That process proved pretty effective for any fabric too delicate for normal washing, or any stains that refused to budge. In fact, the industry was so prominent that there were taxes on collecting urine. Fullers generally used animal urine and would also maintain urine collecting pots at public bathrooms. As for more modern methods, the biggest revolution in dry cleaning came about in the 19th century. Traditionally, Jean-Baptiste Joly of France is generally named the father of modern dry cleaning. Legend has it that in 1825 a careless maid knocked over a lamp and spilled turpentine on a dirty tablecloth. Joly noticed that once the turpentine had dried, the stains that had marred the fabric were gone. He conducted an experiment where he bathed the entire tablecloth in a bathtub filled with turpentine and found that it came clean once it dried. Whether a maid having an accident really had anything to do with it or not, Joly used this method when he opened the often claimed first modern dry cleaning shop, Tinturerie Joly Berlin, in Paris. However, a patent for a process called dry scouring was filed in the US Patent Office in 1821, 4 years before Joly's discovery. A man by the name of Thomas Jennings was a clothier and a tailor in New York, and soon the first black person to be granted a patent in the United States. Previous to this, it was ruled that slave owners were the rightful owner of any inventions made by their slaves, and they could then patent these inventions under their own names. Jennings, however, was a free man. So while working as a clothier, he, like so many others in his profession, was familiar with the age-old customer complaint that they could not clean their more delicate clothes once they'd become stained because the fabric wouldn't hold up to the traditional washing and scrubbing. Jennings thus began experimenting with different cleaning solutions and processes before discovering the process he named dry scouring. His method was a hit and not only made him extremely wealthy, but allowed him to buy his wife and children out of slavery, as well as fund numerous abolitionist efforts. As for the method he used, well, unfortunately this has been lost to history as his patent was destroyed in a fire in 1836. What we do know is that after Jennings, other dry cleaners during the 19th century used things like turpentine, benzene, kerosene, gasoline, and petrol as solvents in the process of dry cleaning clothes. These solvents had the side effect of making dry cleaning a rather dangerous business. Turpentine even caused clothes to smell after being cleaned, and benzene could be toxic to dry cleaners or customers if left on the clothes. But all of these solvents posed the bigger problem of being highly flammable. The danger of clothes and even the building catching fire was so great that most cities refused to allow dry cleaning to occur in the business districts. In the United Kingdom, for example, dry cleaners had smaller satellite stores in the city where they took in customers' clothes, and then those clothes were transported to a factory outside of the city limits where the dry cleaning actually took place. The major risk of clothes and buildings catching on fire because of the flammable solvents led to dry cleaners searching for a safer alternative. Chlorinated solvents gained popularity in the early 20th century, quickly leaving the flammable solvents in the dust. They removed stains just as well as petroleum-based cleaners without the risk of causing the clothes or factories to catch fire. That also meant dry cleaners could move their cleaning facilities back into cities and eliminated the need to transport clothes back and forth between two locations. A chlorine-based solvent with the chemical name tetrachloroethylene, or sometimes called perchloroethylene, became the go-to solvent for dry cleaners in the 1930s. Originally discovered in 1821 by Michael Faraday, perc could not only be used in a relatively compact dry cleaning machine, but also did a better job of cleaning than the other solvents of the day. It's still actually the chemical of choice for most dry cleaners today. While perc is considered much safer than solvents used by dry cleaners of the past, the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, in the United States is working to phase the solvent out of the industry. The EPA claims that while wearing clothes treated with perc does not appear to be dangerous, perc can be dangerous if accidentally released into the environment, as it's toxic to plants and animals. Additionally, the EPA also notes that sustained exposure to perc, such as by workers in the industry, can cause health issues with the nervous system, including potentially drastically increasing the chances of developing Parkinson's disease. There are also studies done by the EPA that indicate perc may be a carcinogen. The International Agency for Research on Cancer also classifies the chemical as a Group 2A carcinogen, meaning, in their opinion, it's probably carcinogenic. So how exactly is this chemical used to dry clean clothes? So the process of dry cleaning fabric fabric can vary between dry cleaning companies. However, the general method is as so. Before placing the clothing item in the machines, workers pre-treat stains by hand, as well as remove any materials that aren't suitable for dry cleaning. For instance, buttons that are made of materials that may dissolve in perc are removed. The machine then works in a similar fashion to a normal in-home washing machine by agitating the garments and adding the solvent as it goes. It cycles the solution through the machine and a filter as the clothing is agitated. Temperature is also typically controlled at around 86 degrees Fahrenheit or 30 degrees Celsius. Next, the garments are either dried in the same machine or workers move them to a separate machine. During the drying cycle, the temperature is raised to about 140 degrees Fahrenheit or 60 degrees Celsius, which helps the chemicals evaporate off the clothes faster while still being low enough not to damage the clothing. In the end, approximately 99.9% of the chemicals used are removed from the dry cleaned item and recycled for use again in cleaning. Once the clothes are dry, workers press the clothes, potentially stitch back on any item that had to be taken off, and put the clothing into plastic bags ready for customer pickup.